Welcome back, high school hockey fans. It's another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. Mike Hammett, I'm your host for this week's show. Joining me tonight, Dan Bauer, Bill Berg, and Bill Berg Jr. We got lots to talk about tonight, so let's just dive right in. First off, let's recap our games of the week. Junior, you took part in one of the championship tournaments. I believe it was Middle Border Conference.
Well, Cade was going to go to that one for us, but he got sick, so we couldn't pull it together to actually be there. But I can say in the championship game, Amory and Somerset met and played an instant classic. Officially, as far as the WIAA is concerned, the game goes down as a 3-3 tie. They were tied 3-3 after two overtimes, but Amory unofficially won it in a third overtime. So instant classic that one. Amory got the lead midway through the first period. Somerset battled back and tied it up in the second. Amory took the lead again and actually went up 3-1. Midway through the third period, they were up 3-1, and then Somerset picked up two goals. The second one coming with just a minute and 15 seconds left on the power play to make it 3-3. There was no scoring in the overtimes, despite the fact Somerset really, really tried outshooting Amory 10-2 in the first overtime. The second overtime, it looks like both teams just played defense, one shot apiece. But in the third period, the third overtime, Elliot Green, defenseman from Amory, got assists from Logan Doughton and Jacob Maxon and scored to make it unofficially a 4-3 Amory win. Officially, they tied in the Middle Border Conference championship game.
And the shots were even.
The shots were not even. The shots were 52-24 in Somerset's favor. So
A shout out to the Amory goalie then.
yeah, Amory goalie Carter Meyer had a 942 save percentage on the game, stopping 49 out of 52 shots, which is not the first time we've heard his name.
Okay. Dan, you got the Coulee region and Black River Falls game of the week.
Yeah, made the trip to Milt Lunda Arena, Black River Falls, to catch the Coulee region and Black River Falls. Coulee was the last team for me to chase down this year, so I've seen all 27 of the girls' teams play. It was senior night in Black River, and not as exciting a game as the one we just heard about. Black River won the contest 6-0 over Coulee region. The first period, Black River took a 3-0 lead in that first period. Brogan Baird, Kaya Moore, and Piper Matheson all scored for the Tigers. They outshot Coulee 16-7 and led 3-0 at the end of the first period. Piper Matheson, the coach's daughter, is one of the better freshmen you will see on the girls' side this year. She's going to be a very good hockey player, is already, but she's having a really good freshman season. Second period, the Black River came out, scored 69 seconds into the period. Senior Clarissa Canfield scored to make it 4-0, and that kind of seemed to wake up Coulee a little bit. And they played pretty well for the next 10 minutes or so. I thought they had a power play, had a couple good scoring opportunities during that power play, but couldn't find a way to get one in the net. And then Black River took a 5-0 lead. Shelby King took a long stretch pass from Isabel Arney, who's a pair of seniors, and she cut across the crease, deked the goaltender, and made it 5-0. For the Coulee region, the Cyclones, the goaltender Grace Johnsrud has actually been filling in most of this year, a good portion of this year, for Diane Hansen, who was injured and is out for the rest of the year. And Johnsrud has not been playing goalie for more than a few years, so tough for Cooley. It's been kind of a rough season for them overall. Hanson's kind of an interesting story too in itself, where she went 38-10 her first 2 years with at that time Onalaska Co-op, and she was in the championship game at the state tournament her freshman year. But since then, last year and this year, just a lot of injuries, a lot of things going south for her, and will end up finishing those 2 years at 4-16-2. So tough stretch there for her. Third period, Arnie scored to make it 6-0. Alexa Moore for Black River got her 5th shutout of the season. She has played all but 20 minutes for the Tigers this year. And just talked a little bit to the Cooley coach after the game, and just talking about moving the program from Onalaska to West Salem, being a first-year coach, taking over for Mark Thorne, coming off a 1-win season, just a lot of challenges for them, but he's optimistic about where they're headed, and they have some nice players. So I think getting their goaltending issue settled will be a big help moving forward. But yeah, so that was completed my tour of the girls teams across the state.
All right. Thanks, Dan. MJ had to step away for technical issues. We'll go right back to Dan for our Best Western Premier Park Hotel Girls Player of the Week.
Yeah, there probably isn't too many people haven't heard about this, I would imagine by now. Sammy Bramstead, the senior goaltender for Viroqua, turned in an 83 save performance last week in a 1-0 win over Black River Falls, the team I was just talking about. And Black River is a very defensive minded team, but they have some players that can score and have some good offensive potential. So for her to shut that team out on 83 shots, that's pretty remarkable. She coupled that with a stopping 35 of 38 shots in a 3-1 loss to Badger Lightning. So for the week, she stopped 118 of 121 shots, and that figures out to a 975 save percentage. So Sammy Bramstead, she missed the first part of the season this year with a knee injury. Came back about midway through, and she's been playing most of the minutes for Viroqua since then, and has had a couple plus 50 save performances in addition to this 83. I don't know if that's a state record. I'm not sure. That's something that we're trying to work on finding out, but we don't know at this point. But yeah, she's headed to Hamline University next year. And as far as I know, not to play hockey at this point, but maybe the Hamline coaches will change their mind. Also nominated this week was Olivia Webster from Hayward. She scored her 24th goal of the year with 2 seconds left on Thursday night to beat Superior in Superior 3-2. And interesting for Webster, she's a sophomore, scored 6 goals as a freshman and has 24 now as a sophomore. So she's having quite a year. So Sammy Bramstead, Viroqua is the girls' Best Western Park Hotel Player of the Week.
On another side note, it didn't count towards this week, but her last game last week on Friday, she had a 58 save shutout against last week's Player of the Week, Annika Muller of the Icebergs. The two combined, yeah, it was a 0-0 tie last week with Bramstead making 58 saves in that game. So back-to-back goalies for our Player of the Week on the girls' side.
All right, and then moving on to our boys' Best Western Madison Premier Park Hotel Player of the Week with Burglar.
On the boys' side, from Hayward, for Keegan Walsh on Tuesday, he had 3 assists in a 7-2 win over Northwest Iceman. On Thursday, he had 2 goals and 2 assists in a 7-2 win over Whistle Flag. And on Saturday, he had 5 goals, including the game winner in a 7-5 win over Ashland. Keegan missed the first half of the season with appendicitis, and then basically spent the month of January getting back into game shape. That was basically his spring training was January, getting up to snuff then, and then he's since turned it on for Hayward, doing a nice job with them. Also nominated were Daniel Lynn, a goaltender from River Falls, who we've mentioned quite often in our podcasts. Daniel Lynn helped River Falls to their best record in the Big Rivers Conference since the 2007-2008 season. They won 4 games this year they won 8 games this year in the Big Rivers Conference, finishing 8-6 in conference play. So that was he was a big part of their Big Rivers Conference play this year. And also nominated was Matt Richter from Madison Edgewood, who had 8 points for Edgewood last week.
I remember when Corey Hart had appendicitis for the Brewers back 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. And I was very adamant that for professional athletes, like the moment they get drafted and sign their contract, the first thing their teams should do is just go in and take out their appendix, get it over with, so they can't miss a month of a season. Because it doesn't matter who you are, if your appendix is gone, you're going to miss at least a month.
Do you remember when Talon Blank had appendicitis and missed the championship game for St. Mary's Springs a couple of years ago in the state tournament?
Bryce Lake won?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Those were our Best Western Premier Park Hotel players of the week. Now moving on to our top 6s. Shock of shocks, they actually changed a little bit this week after last week's stagnation. Division 2, Tomahawk is still number 1. They've now gone wire to wire in all of our polls this season. McFarland moved up to number 2 and Somerset dropped to number 3. Amory is still 4th. River Falls is still 5th. And Baldwin Woodville moved into the 6th spot. Also receiving votes this week were Mosinee and Ram. I believe that's the first time Ram's fallen out of the rankings quite a while. For the girls, Bay Area Ice Bears are still unanimous number 1. Central Wisconsin Storm are 2nd. Hayward moved up 1 spot to 3rd. St. Croix Valley moved up 1 spot to 4th. Superior's stock has fallen quite a bit, dropping all the way to 5th. Western Wisconsin is still 6th, and also receiving votes for the girls were the Fox City Stars and Lakeshore Lightning. And then in Division 1, Spash is still unanimous number 1. Brookfield is number 2. Neenah Hortonville Menasha is number 3. St. Mary Springs is number 4. That's all the same as last week. New Richmond moved up to 5th, and Wausau West dropped down to 6th. Also receiving votes in Division 1 were Hudson, Madison, Edgewood, and Notre Dame. Did you see that Madison Edgewood? Was it Madison Edgewood or was it Arrowhead? Somebody just beat USM like a bunch to 1.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm trying to remember who it was right off the top of my head.
Was it Brookfield?
No,
Okay.
no, they beat them like 7-1 or something like that.
It was a surprising.
website.
But we can move on. We are working on our regional sectional previews. For those unfamiliar with the WIAA's terminology, this week, Tuesday are the regional semifinals, and then Thursday or Friday are the regional finals. And then next week will be the sectional semifinals and the sectional finals. So this week we're getting started with regional or sectional play, depending on the division we're in. And we'll start with Section 1 in Division 2, and Burglar's going to talk about that one.
Yeah, I looked a lot at the whole section, not just this divisional play, because the division kind of shakes up like, there possibly could be Whistle Flag and Ashland are 4 and 5. They'll meet each other. Otherwise, I don't see a lot happening. I mean, Amory and Schwamig and Phillips. I don't see that as much of a contest. Rice Lake should have their way with Spooner. Hayward and the Northwest Iceman. Whistle Flag and Ashland could be a good matchup, but otherwise, technically, this is the weakest of the sections for the Division 2. I know in Division 1 it's the section of doom. But in section 2, I looked at the combined My Hockey rankings with 32 teams. This one was by far had the highest number of cumulative hockey rankings, with Schwamig and Phillips coming in at number 32 in their rankings, and Northwest Iceman not far behind them at number 27. So it's not an overly strong section. Amory has had a good time of it. Um, Rice Lake, Rice Lake actually has in those rankings. Rice Lake has the like the third toughest schedule. But not surprisingly, River Falls, Menominee, and Rice Lake have the hardest schedules in Division 2 because they play in the Big Rivers Conference with 5 Division 1 schools. So they're always ranked there with the toughest schedule. So Rice Lake has had the toughest schedule in this, but Amory looks good. They've already beaten Hayward once. They've beaten Rice Lake. They did not play against Whistle Flag, but Amory is their second. They're third in Division 2, allowing only 2 goals per game. Their power play is deadly at 34.9%. They kill 15%. They kill off 85% of the penalties. So good power play, good defense, just a strong overall team. And quite frankly, I can't see anybody giving them a run for their money in this one.
No, I agree. This was a fairly strong section not that long ago because New Richmond was in it. Rice Lake obviously played in the state championship game just a couple of years ago. Hayward has had a couple of really nice seasons recently, and then Amory's always been in there. But Rice Lake is a little down this year compared to their state tournament year. New Richmond obviously got competitive balanced up to Division 1. Thanos snapped out of Division 2. So this one, yeah, kind of left. This is Amory's to take. All right, and then we will move on to Division 1 in the girls.
Where's your timer?
Dan.
All right. Well, I think Section 1 in the girls looks a lot like it has looked for probably the last 3 to 4 years. Just 3 really strong teams: Central Wisconsin, Superior, and Hayward. Hayward won 18 games this year, and they're going to be a 3rd seed. I don't think you'd find that in very many other sections around the state. So it's very top heavy sectional with 2 teams that won 18 games and the Storm that won 20 games. Then most of them have played each other. The Storm has beat Hayward. Hayward's beat the Storm. Superior's beat Hayward. The Storm beat Superior. So I mean, they, when those 3 meet, it's pretty much anything can happen. I think generally the Storm probably has the strongest roster in that group of 3. Superior has struggled since they lost Adeline Benson. for the remainder of the year. She's gone with a shoulder injury, and she had 14 goals, 19 assists. So she was a big part of their offense, and they lost their last 3 games of the year without her, including getting beat by Western Wisconsin Friday night on their home ice. So they lost back-to-back games on their home ice to end the year there. So it's a very tough sectional. I'm assuming we're going to see the Storm and either Superior or Hayward probably in the finals. Medford and Pines are, pretty much kind of always the Pines for sure in kind of a rebuilding situation. A lot of really young players up there and a new coach. Medford, the challenges that they always face as a small town with a small roster. And Wisconsin Valley Union really made some strides this year. They finished 11-13 and were very competitive. Most of their games had a really nice year, but I'm just not sure they have enough to find a way to move past their first round game. So it's the unusual Section 1 division because there's 2 byes with only 6 teams. The Storm and Superior each get a bye to start off, and then Hayward will have no trouble, I'm certain, with Medford. And Wisconsin Valley will play Pines, and I think Wisconsin Valley will make it through there, but that will probably be the end of the road for them. So very competitive. A really good team is going to come out of there.
Well, I'm going to be somewhat biased in that, Superior and Hayward play. And I have to pull for Superior because when we looked at the sectional final mappings, I am scheduled to go up to Superior for the girls sectional final at 11 o'clock on Saturday and the boys sectional final at 3 o'clock on Saturday, and then go out to dinner with my sister and brother-in-law and then spend the night at their house and then come home sometime on Sunday. But if Hayward beats Superior and they're facing Central Wisconsin, they'll move the game as they did a couple of years ago. And if Superior boys don't make the sectional final, they'll move that game too because nobody wants to drive up to Superior. It's out of the way. It's like way up there. And, I got to pull for Superior, so at least they have one game up there, so I can have a reason to go up to Superior on that Saturday.
Yeah, well, Hayward is, other than Bay Area, Hayward is probably the hottest team in the state right now. They've won 11 straight games going into the playoffs. Bay Area's won 19.
Don't tell me stuff like that.
But Hayward's the back-to-back with Hayward is their goaltending is very good, and the last time that they moved past that and got to the finals, it was because of one of their goaltenders had a very good game. So it'll be fun to watch.
All right, moving on to Division 1, Section 1 with me. Division 1 is going to be a little different because these brackets are a lot bigger. There are 13 or 14 teams in each of the Division 1 brackets. So we'll just be focusing on regional play tonight. In Division 1, Section 1, the average ranking on the MyHockey rankings, computer rankings of the 54 Division 1 teams, Section 1 averages out to at 21. They're 21st, which is the best of all the sections. 5 of the top 11 teams in Division 1 are in this section. So it is still, even though some of the usual suspects are having down years, it is still the section of death. Chippewa Falls at 8 and Eau Claire North at 9. They're 24th and 28th, respectively, on the computer rankings. Get to play for the right to play Spash. Good for them. Chippewa Falls beat North 5-4 and 1-0 this year, outshooting North heavily in both of those contests. Moving down to the Hudson section, number 4 Hudson will play number 13 Marshfield. I feel for the Tigers, but they're the 46th ranked team going against the 5th ranked team. That's a tough road to hoe. And then on the top side of that regional, the 12th seeded 45th ranked East Merrill United are facing the 5th seeded 11th ranked Eau Claire Memorial Old Abe's. That's a tough road to hoe for them. So then, very likely going to be Hudson and Eau Claire Memorial meeting in that regional final. Hudson has beaten Eau Claire Memorial twice this season, 5-4 the first time they played, and a shocking 12-0 the last time they played, just a week or two ago. I watched the third period of that game, and I was just baffled. Hudson just kept on score. It was wild. Moving to the bottom half of the Section 1 bracket, the New Richmond Tigers are the third seed. The winner of the DC Everest Evergreens and Wisconsin Rapids Red Raiders, the 6th and 11th seeds, will get to play them. Everest has beaten Rapids 5-1 and 4-1 this season, so it'll probably be Everest going to New Richmond. Go Evergreens. I have to say that because I live here now. And then on the last one, the 2 seed Wausau West Warriors will play the winner of the Superior Spartans or the Toma Sparta, I believe, Spartans. Toma, Sparta, and Superior have not played this year. They do have one common opponent. Superior beat Baldwin Woodville 3-0, and Toma lost to Baldwin Woodville 5-1, which does not bode well for Toma Sparta in that matchup. So we could get a rematch of Superior and Wausau West. Wausau West beat Superior 5-3 in either their first or second game of the season.
Okay, so there's my secret weapon. Should Superior beat Thomas Sparta and they play Wausau West at Marathon Park, you are going to that game. You are going to stand down in the corner and bring your jinx upon Wausau West.
Wausau West has never won while I'm in attendance, so
I hope BJ's not listening. It's nothing against Wausau West, but I know if Superior's eliminated, there's no way in hell that Spash and whoever they play are going to want to go up to Superior to play that game. So
this Superior is the 7th seed in this section. They're 14th in the My Hockey rankings, computer rankings for Division 1. The 7th seed in this section is 14th overall in the state. They're behind DC Everest, who's 25th. They're the 6th seed, despite the fact they're 25th. But at 14th, Superior is more than capable of staying with Wausau West at the bottom of that one. 14 versus 7. It was only 5-3 last time they played. I think Wausau West has gotten a lot better since then. We'll have to see what Superior does.
well, yeah, you're gonna see it up close and personal. I'll watch your kids.
All right. Anything else for Division 1, Section 1, gentlemen?
Looks like we're off the clock on that one.
All right. Then moving back to Section 2, we will go to Division 2.
Well, we just saw Division 2 play out last week. The Great Northern Conference Tournament, pretty much it's the same teams with the exception of Shawano. Shawano Bonduel takes the place of Wapaka in this one, and they're the number 6 seed. So I don't know. I don't really see them factoring in. Tomahawk has been our number 1 team in Division 2 all season. They're the number 1 in the My Hockey rankings for Division 2. They are they're tied for the best goal. They're tied for the best goals against average at 1.96. I knew they scored a lot. They are the best in Division 2 at scoring 6.52 goals a game. But they're also one of the stingiest, tied for the best at 1.96 goals against. So I mean, Tomahawk is going to be very hard to beat. They just beat Mosinee 3-1 in the Great Northern Conference Championship game, outshooting Mosinee 47-21. Hats off to Aiden Karst, the goalie for Mosinee, keeping the game that close. But Yeah, Mosinee 5th in the My Hockey rankings. Then you drop down to Lakeland and Pines are 14 and 15. Anago is at 22. Anago and Pines play in the first round. And if that game wasn't in Eagle River, I'd give um Anago a shot. Well, you still have to give them a shot. They've got Owen Dickman and Eli Castler. They could put up a lot of goals. Um, Anago is they're fourth in Division 2 at 4.75 goals per game. So they can light up the lamp, as MJ likes to say. Um, So they could give it a chance. They could give Northland Pines a good shot if it wasn't in Northland Pines. I've always said Northland Pines gets 2-goal advantage just by being in their rank. Sean Obondo's come a long way this year, but I don't think they're gonna hang with Lakeland. And then, like I said, we just saw this play out last week, and it was Tomahawk.
You mentioned Mosinee goalie Aiden Karst. He became their starting goaltender when he was a freshman 4 years ago. And his freshman year, he had an 853 save percentage, which is not what you want to see from your starting goalie. This year, as a senior, he's at 927.
He did not have that highest save percentage, but did he not steal them the Great Northern Conference Championship that year as a freshman?
I don't remember if that was his freshman year, but one of his years, he definitely did steal them the Great Northern Conference Championship with a win in the tournament on a game where they were outshot pretty well. I believe it was against Lakeland. And they did go to the state tournament his sophomore year. So,
Oh yeah, and Tomahawks also got a 36.5% power play.
any power play where you're scoring a third of the time is just, it's like a cheat code. I mean, the NHL changed the matching minor rules at one point because Edmonton or the Oilers were too good at 4-on-4. It's kind of like what Tomahawk is on the power play. All right, anything else for D2 Section 2? All right, moving on to Division 2 in the girls with Dan.
All right. Section 2, St. Croix Valley will be trying to make their back-to-back appearances at the state tournament, having gone last year. They get the first round bye in Section 2. I think this is probably the most competitive top to bottom section in the girls field this year. Some really good teams in there. This is really going to be a tough one, I think, to pick. They beat up on each other pretty much all year long, the teams in this section. And so Black River Falls and Chippewa will, I think, be a really interesting game on Thursday. It's the team that's the stingiest in the section. Black River Falls, 1.62 goals a game. They average giving up, while Chippewa scores 3.57, which is the highest. Doesn't seem very high, but it is in the girls' game. So those two will meet and see who, which comes out best. Will defense win or will it be offense? So that should be a great game. Black River, of course, trying to rebound from that 83 save performance they faced last week. And we'll see how that one goes for them. Hudson and Eau Claire will also play, and then one of the other games. And Eau Claire finished the season kind of on a rough stretch. They started off the year losing a lot of very close games. Then played pretty well through the middle of the season, and then sort of fell off towards the end of the year. Their record from the first of the year on has been 4-9. They're going to play Hudson. Hudson, a team that I think could surprise anybody on any given night. I think their coaching staff does a really good job. I know they're young, but they have some very strong defensive players on the back end. They finished the season at 5-17-1. But they do have a couple of upsets. They did beat the Fusion, so they beat the number one team in the section. So this section, there's a lot to watch. I think it will be very interesting how things are going to turn out. And then that's all we got for that section. Sorry, I keep thinking I'm not used to these short brackets. I keep thinking that there's one more game that I had to talk about, but there is the 3 games. So, Eau Claire, Hudson, I think that's a toss up. Black River, Chippewa Falls, CFM. CFM has played really well all year, very close games. They got probably one of the most dynamic freshmen in the state in Avery Lindstrom. She is really fun to watch. So her going against the tough defenders that Black River has, that should be a very challenging game. And then St. Croix will just sit back and wait. And St. Croix's been up and down all year. I mean, they played better down the stretch, but they hit a streak in through the middle of the season there where they were basically win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. So it'll be interesting to see if they're ready to go. Of course, they're running on a sophomore goaltender since the injury to their senior goaltender and Caitlin Gustafson, and she's been great at 12-5, the 1.86 goals against. So I do think this will be the maybe the funnest, the most exciting section to watch. I guess you got to pick the Fusion as the favorite, but I would not be surprised to see anybody come out of this section, to be honest.
Hudson also has a secret weapon. Between in person, because they went to state, it was a few years ago, but they did go. And then the games I've watched of theirs on Raider streaming in the playoffs over the last several years, Hudson has this secret weapon, and they take a lot of pride in the fact that they're not a co-op. Their student section, on the playoff games where you actually get a student section in for a change, the not a co-op chant comes up a lot. And Hudson seems to take a lot of pride in that and play with a bit of a chip on their shoulder because of it.
Well, that makes them one of the few teams that is playing for their school.
Yeah, they have the school they go to has their logo on the jersey. And that's not something that very many people in the state can say. So I think they do take. I think Hudson takes a lot of pride in that, based on the comments that we see on social media, on the stories we post, and stuff like that. And sometimes that kind of thing can carry you.
Yeah, that's one of those intangibles that you can't really. It's hard to factor that in, but yeah, I would not disagree. I think that playing for your own school, and a one school like that, I do think that does provide some extra motivation for them.
All right, moving on to Division One, Section 2. In the Neenah Regional, Neenah Hortonville Menasha is the number 1 overall seed in Section 2. They are 4th overall in the My Hockey Rankings computer rankings. Section 2 has an average ranking of 28. Ashwaubenon and the 8 seed and Sheboygan, the 9 seed, are going to play for the right to play Neenah. Ashwaubenon has beaten Sheboygan 3 times this season, 4-2, 3-2 in overtime, and 2-1. So those are all close games. So close enough that Sheboygan has a legitimate shot to come out of that one and face Neenah. Neenah wants Ashwaubenon to win, and if that's what happens, I don't know that I want to be Ashwaubenon that day, because I'm fairly convinced that Neenah would be ranked 2nd in the state right now if it had not been for their loss to Ashwaubenon. Talking to their coach Jeff Lindeman about it, they played a lot of their JV guys that day. They played not their starting goalie, and Ashwaubenon came back in the 3rd period and took that game from them. And I think all of the players on the Rockets want Ashwaubenon in the 2nd round.
I don't know. It's hard to beat a team 4 times in a season.
Well, it's hard to play a team 4 times in a season. Moving down to the West Bend Regional, the number 4 seed West Bend will take on Manitowoc United. They have not played each other this season. The De Pere Voyagers will take on Appleton United. The winners of those two games will face off in the regional final. De Pere has beaten Appleton United 3-1. They outshot them 55-18 in that 3-1 win. De Pere's also beaten Manitowoc on the other side 6-0 and 10-1. So De Pere and West Bend is a bit of an unknown. They did play once. West Bend lost that game 6-4 to De Pere. So this is one where the 5 team, in terms of head-to-head matchup, is actually a little ahead of the 4 team in terms of the way the bracket breaks down. Moving further down the bracket to the Notre Dame Academy Regional, the Tritons will be taking on the Oshkosh Ice Hawks. Oshkosh is ranked 54th of the 54 teams in Division One. Notre Dame is ranked 6th. So the Ice Hawks have a monumental task ahead of them in that first one. The Fond du Lac Cardinals take on the Beaver Dam Golden Beavers, the 6th seed versus the 11th seed, 23 and 24, and 23 and 47 in the computer rankings. They have not faced each other yet this season, but you've got to give the hand to Fond du Lac on this one. Although Beaver Dam has been pretty good the last couple of years. 47 is lower than they've been the last couple of years, so don't count them out. And then in the Springs sectional, 2 seed St. Mary's Springs, who are ranked 6th overall. I think they were. Did they move up? Yeah, they're 4th overall. They're the 2 seed. 3rd in the computer ranking. They will face the winner of Bayport and Fox City Stars. Springs beat Bayport 8-1, and they beat Fox Cities 9-2. So I'm not entirely sure Springs cares which team comes out of that one. Bayport and Fox Cities have not played each other this season in their common opponents. Both of them lost to Fond du Lac, Bayport 1-0, and Fox Cities 4-1. Both lost to Neenah, Bayport 3-1, and Fox Cities 8-0. Both lost to Springs, Bayport 8-1, Fox Cities 9-2. So based on their common opponents, you got to give the edge to Bayport, and they are the higher seed. So that is how the basics of Division 1, Section 2 shake out.
Yeah, West Bend have put themselves a nice season together. The first time, well, the only time I saw them, probably the only time I've ever seen them play. They went up to Tomahawk, and it was a game of the week for us. And West Bend was the first team to hold Tomahawk like under 5 goals. West Bend beat Tomahawk, I think it was 4-2 in that game. But they played strong defensive game, and like I said, Tomahawk knows how to put the puck in the net, but West Bend did not allow them to do that much in that game.
I mean, when's the last time you saw Notre Dame Academy sitting on a 3 seed?
Without a bye.
And without a bye, they have to play in the regional semifinal round, which, man, it's been a long time since I've seen that.
I don't like their chances, though.
Well, not in the sectional round, but in the regional round, I think they're pretty safe. Moving back to Section 3 now in Division 2. Burglar.
Section 3 in Division 2 is the strongest of the sections by far as the computer rankings go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 schools in the top 10 in D2. They come with a total, right? Add up their totals and it's 88. Add up the totals in Division 1 is 162. Add up the totals in Section 2 is 141. Totals in Section 4 was 137. Section 3 is 88. So this is the section of death for Division 3. Somerset is ranked 2nd. River Falls is ranked 3rd. Ram is ranked 7th. Baldwin Woodville 9th. Black River Falls 10th. So that's a pretty strong grouping. So Baldwin Woodville and Black River Falls, that's going to be an interesting matchup. Come on, pay attention. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they played each other this year. But yeah, Black River Falls is second in Division Two, scoring 5.91 goals per game. Um, they're pretty good, but then on the other side, uh, Black River or Baldwin Wood or yeah, did I say Baldwin Woodville? Yes, Baldwin Woodville does not give up very many goals. They're sixth. They only allow 2.38 goals per game. So that's going to be a good matchup in those two. Menominee, like I said, Menominee and River Falls and the previously mentioned Rice Lake, they face the toughest schedule because they're in that Big Rivers Conference. Menominee did not do well in the Big Rivers Conference this year. They were only 2-12. River Falls had one of their best years in that conference. They were 8-6. So there is kind of a divide after 4 and 5, Baldwin Woodville and Black River Falls. Although I would never say anything against Menominee, especially during playoff times, because some of my favorite fans are from, Menominee. But I probably won't be over there to see them at lunchtime this year, as I'll be going in a different direction. But Somerset, they're tied for the best in D2 with a 1.96 goals against average, tied with Tomahawk up there. They played Amory, their middle border conference. They ended up losing in a third overtime, but ended up with a tie, although they outshot Amory 52-24. So Somerset's got the firepower. River Falls, they faced tough opponents all season. They did lose this year to Baldwin Woodville and Somerset. Somerset has lost to Baldwin Woodville, Amory, and Tomahawk in the D2. So this is a tough section. Whoever comes out of this one is going to be bloodied by the time they get done.
That's what we've said about Menominee, Rice Lake, and River Falls the last couple of years. Nobody's going to throw anything at them that they haven't seen before. 2 games against New Richmond, 2 games against Hudson, 2 games against Eau Claire Memorial. That's just nobody's going to throw anything at them they haven't seen before. So, even though Menominee's a 6, don't count them out against the 3. Moving on from there to the girls again, Division 3, where everybody is playing for the right to play against Bay Area, Dan.
Yeah, that's your reward for working your way through the section. Bay Area just simply has been the best team in the state, pretty much from the drop of the puck way back in November. They're currently on a 19-game winning streak. They haven't lost since December 7th. Haven't lost to a team in Wisconsin. Their only loss came to Blake, Minnesota, and that was a 2-1 loss on a goal they gave up very late in that game. They have allowed, this is crazy, they've allowed 17 goals the entire year in 24 games. That figures to a 0.71 goals per game average. They have the best penalty kill in the state for girls. Their power plays very good, 24.2. They average 5.04 goals per game, which is second only to the Storm, and their defense is number 1, as I mentioned. So they are top to bottom, have proven to be the best team, but they still have some games to go to finish at the very top. And I think there's some teams in this section that could give them trouble. And that, we'll see how that shakes out. The other games in the sectional, Lakeshore will play Arrowhead Lakeshore finished the season at 15-8-1, which was a new school record for them in wins. So they were pretty excited about that. Probably one of the most balanced teams in the state. They have 7 players with 8 or more goals. So they spread things out. They have they will face a very good goaltending duo for Arrowhead. Kennedy Bostrom and Bree Chimmel are the 2 goaltenders. I'm not sure who will get the nod for that game, but they've both played really well this season. So that will be a challenge there for Lakeshore, is to find a way to get some pucks behind the net. The 2 teams did play twice during the season. Lakeshore won early in the year 3-1, and they played just a weekend or so ago in the Eastern Shores tournament, and Arrowhead won that game 2-0. So those 2 teams will be the 4th and 5th seeds, and they will meet. Brookfield will take on Fox Cities, travel to Fox Cities. That game will be on a Friday. The Stars, excuse me, actually just played Brookfield in the Eastern Shores tournament. We're down 2-0, came from behind and won that game 3-2 in overtime. Fox Cities has had a few sort of dramatic wins here down the stretch. They've been playing pretty well. Brookfield did beat Fox Cities earlier in the year, back in January, 2-1. Brookfield is, a team that relies really heavily on their goaltender, Macy Blooming. She's 12-11 on the year, 2.01 goals against, and a 93.9 save percentage. She's been very, very good. She keeps them in virtually every game. They're allowing just over 2.04 goals a game, so they are very stingy defensively. Fox Cities relies on a real balanced attack. I think they have 3 lines that it can come at you. They finished 14-10 on the year. Evie Mirsaw is their leader on offense. She had scored 21 goals, had 13 assists, and her coach says when she puts her mind to it, she can go out and just take a game if she decides that what she needs to do. She scored a hat trick late in the year in a game to bring them back from a 2-0 deficit to a 4-2 win. Blake is one of those coaches I think's always got something up his sleeve, so it'll be interesting to see what he puts together for the playoffs. The last game or bracket matchup in the bracket is Fond du Lac and University School. And for University School, they were in the section final a year ago to fall into the 7th seed. That's quite a tumble for them. They finished 8-14-1 on the year. Fond du Lac had a great year, started off red hot, cooled off a little bit as the season went on. They finished at 18-6. Their story, I guess the star for them this year has been Kennedy Coleman, the freshman goaltender. She won 17 games, lost 6, 1.76 goals against, and a 919 save percentage. She's been very, very good. Her twin sister scored 9 goals. She's been good also, and they've really helped the Warbirds to have a very good season. The 2 teams did play back in January, and Fond du Lac won that game 3-0. So I saw University School play. They definitely have some players that can cause some trouble. So this could, I think, even be a close game again. This is a section that's really when you take out the top end, if you take Bay Area out of the equation, it's a pretty balanced sectional from top to bottom. But right now, Bay Area just appears like they're just sitting and waiting for their opportunity to move through and get to the state tournament. I feel like they're really set to revenge their loss last year. They did finish the season Saturday night at home against the Storm, beat them 3-0. Outshot them. I think it was about 36-16. But I thought it was a closer game than that. I watched quite a bit of it on Live Barn. The Storm is just they're a team I don't think you can ever count out. So, but yeah, definitely Bay Area has got to be the favorites to come out of this sectional.
I think a bunch of ears just kind of perked up when you said if you could take Bay Area out of this section, the other 6 teams said, can we do that?
Well, with the WIA, anything is possible. I'll tell you, there's years when we went to that meeting and they would have spun the wheel and we're like, whoa, what caused that? So you never know with them what they might do.
I mean, the Fox City Stars were in Section 2 not that long ago.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Division 1, Section 3. Mentioned earlier that Section 1 had an average computer ranking of 21st, making them the strongest section in the state. Section 3 has an average computer ranking of 32nd, making them the weakest section in the state, mathematically speaking. Madison Edgewood is the top seed. They are 10th in the computer rankings at the moment. They will face the winner of the Sauk Prairie Eagles and the Holman Aquinas Avalanche. Sauk Prairie beat the Avalanche 4-1 earlier this season, and Edgewood beat Sauk Prairie 7-0. Moving down to the Middleton, the 4th seed, the Middleton Regional. Middleton will take on 13th seed Baraboo Portage, and 5th seed Sun Prairie United will take on 12th seed South Central Navigators. Sun Prairie is 33rd in the computers, South Central is 50th, Middleton is 17th in the computers, and Baraboo Portage is 51st. Neither of the regional semifinals the teams have played head to head, but looking ahead to the regional final, Middleton and Sun Prairie have played twice. Middleton beat Sun Prairie 2-1 in overtime the first time they played, and 7-1 the second time they played, turning that overtime squeaker into a bit of a blowout. Moving down the bracket, the 3rd seed Waunakee will face the winner of Madison West versus Reedsburg, Wisconsin Dells Mauston. Waunakee is 18th in the computer rankings. West is 34th, and RWD is 43rd. This is another group of teams that haven't, well, West and RWD haven't played each other. Waunakee has beaten Madison West. They beat them 2-0, outshooting them 38-19, and they beat RWD 8-1. And then moving on to the Verona Regional, Verona is the number 2 seed. They are 19th in the computer rankings, which is very low for Verona and very low for a 2 seed. They will face the winner of Madison Memorial and Onalaska Lacrosse. Verona has beaten Madison Memorial 6-3 and 2-0 this year. Onalaska Lacrosse and Madison Memorial haven't played. In the computers, they're 31st and 38th, so that should actually be a pretty decent game for the right to go face Verona. And Verona beating Madison Memorial 6-3 and 2-0. Madison Memorial squeaking through there is not unheard of. I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but those are two not blowouts. Stranger things happened.
MJ, tell us what's going on down there in Madison, because between the Badger Conference, which used to be Badger East and Badger West, and used to be Badger Big and Badger Small, and now it's just all one Badger Conference. And then you got your Big 8 conference, and I mean, Edgewood from the Badger Conference is ranked 10th. Then you got to go all the way down to 17th to find Middleton from the Big 8. What's happened to hockey down there in the Madison area?
Good question. It's just not as strong as it used to be. Verona has been the last couple of years, has been the top seed. I mean, they just have been that much better than everybody this year, the last few years. But Middleton's got a few guys that are capable. They got a really nice defenseman back there, and they also have Wyatt Earhart. Wyatt Earhart's one of the better forwards in the state. But I don't know. Madison area just hasn't been strong in quite a while. I mean, Madison itself, but yet the ones outside Verona and Middleton seem to always be doing okay, and Edgewood is always just Edgewood.
Can we blame this on the University of Wisconsin with Eves and then Granado, and then the Badgers not doing well? It's like everybody in the Madison area just lost interest in hockey?
That's an interesting way of looking at it, but I don't know. It just hasn't been strong. You wonder how many kids have also, have they went AAA with some of the better kids? It's a good question.
It's also entirely possible that this is just a blip that will go away in a year or two, as
It
often
could.
happens. I
It
mean, we
could.
haven't seen, going up a section, we haven't seen Wausau West in a 2 seed in a long time. And they're there this year. So, could just be a blip. All right, then moving on to our final round of sections, we will go back to Division 2 for Section 4.
Well, here we get a couple of schools out of that aforementioned Badger Conference, McFarland and Monona Grove. And McFarland has kind of been, they've been up there at the top of our rankings, and we've just wondered, who they've beaten. But in their conference, I mean, they're 23-1 overall. They're 10-2 in that Badger Conference. Against Division One schools, they're 12-3. And against Division Two schools, they're 8-0-1. So you would think that they should be a powerhouse. The My Hockey rankings has them at 6. They tied Baldwin Woodville. They haven't lost to any Division Three schools, but they haven't beaten any of the top Division Three schools that we talked about so far. None of the top seeds have none of the top seeds that we've talked about so far in D2 have played McFarland. Like I said, they're 12-3 against Division One, but that's that Badger Conference. That's just not all that strong this year. They are fourth in goals against average in Division Two, giving up only 2.17 goals per game. But I think they're just a mystery. I don't know, MJ, have you seen them at all? You're on mute.
No, actually, I haven't seen them at all this year, and I've been wanting to. It just hasn't worked out. But they when you think about it, we really haven't talked a whole lot about them. This could be one of those teams that we talk a lot about teams in the north, but this McFarland team's been doing things kind of quietly. And in their sectional, you look at where they are, they stand a pretty good chance of making it state.
They do. I think that their competition would be Monona Grove. Monona Grove finished right behind them. They were 10-3 in the conference. Monona Grove has lost a couple of games to Division Three schools, but they played Somerset and Homestead, and they actually lost to McFarland already once this year. I don't know. It's kind of a mystery because, well, we live up north and we don't get down south a lot, and McFarland doesn't seem to travel up this way at all. So it's kind of a mystery. But it looks like the first round, as usual, you got the 4 and the 5, Waupun and Cedarburg. Cedarburg's put together a nice season this year. And while they weren't all that great in their conference, but they won a lot of non-conference games. Waupun, I don't know. We don't know much about these schools. That's what we call an MJ for his expert analysis.
Wish I could help on that one, but it's been a tough year for me to get out and do anything this year. But I'm still liking McFarland's chances. I really am.
I
It's
mean,
been it's
it's,
been since 2000 was the last time McFarland made state. This may be one of their better teams that they've had in a
McFarland,
long time.
as he mentioned, they're only ranked sixth in the My Hockey rankings, computer rankings in Division Two, and their schedule is I think 14th, and that's why they're only sixth. Their strength of schedule is 14th. Earlier in the season, before things had it shaken out, it was a little higher, but yeah, at the end of the season, it was 14th. I think their biggest win on the year was probably their win against fifth seed Muskego in Division One, Section Four, in terms of how teams are ranked and positioned. So they're kind of a mystery, as is everybody else down in that area, as Burglar said.
It's just this area just really isn't that strong this year.
I mean, I always just cheer for Monona Grove out of habit, because two of our three goaltender um, Wisconsin Prep Hockey end of season awards are named after Monona Grove players, Jesse Vetter and John Hillebrandt. So just by default, I'm pulling from Monona Grove.
Wasn't Dave Kinsler down there?
Yes,
He
he
was
was.
coach for many years. Now he's scouting for the NHL.
But we've always liked Dave Kinsler. He's another Hobbit. Him and MJ.
He's a he's a fun one. Uh boy, senior class tournament, we had fun with him. But another story for another day.
Well, we apologize to all the people in Division Two, Sectional 4 that we've offended by not knowing enough about your teams. Now we will move on to girls Section 4.
It's section 4. This is, I guess I would call the goalie sectional. We have Sammy Bramstead from Viroqua, Addie Bazell from the Lynx, Sophie Martinelli from Cop City, Annika Mueller from Stoughton, and Emily Samidama from Beaver Dam. And between that group, they have 11 50+ save performances this year. So this will be a sectional where goals will probably be at a premium and goaltending will probably decide who is going to come out of there and move on to Madison. The feel good best story of the season, maybe in girls hockey, might be Beaver Dam, who has erased 3 really rough seasons when they went back out on their own, leaving the Warbirds, and really went 3 seasons without a win. And this year finished at 18-6. They went undefeated in their conference and won that. And so, really, a great story for Beaver Dam, and just maybe a tale for the rest of the large co-ops around the state to take a look at. Yeah, they went through some pain, but they have come out the other side and now are doing very well with their own team. They are led by, excuse me, Brenna Rhodes, a terrific freshman who has 27 goals, 13 assists, and their goaltender, 17-6, 2.09 goals against, and a 92.4 save percentage. So Beaver Dam earned the bye as the number 1 seed in Section 4. The Metro Lynx and Rock County, the 4th and 5th seeds, will play, and this will be the 3rd meeting between them this year. The Lynx won both of the previous meetings, both of them in overtime, 3-2 and 5-4. So that has the looks of could be a very exciting game. Lynx finished, I think, have sort of fallen from one of the best teams in the state and certainly in the Madison metro area, to 6-16-1 this year, and came in as the 5th seed. Rock County 6-18. Been going most of this year with a goaltender who I believe is playing only for her 2nd year as a goalie. Excuse me, and she was injured, Piper Aker. She was injured for a few games back about maybe 3 weeks ago, but she coach has informed me that she is back and she will be ready to go for the playoffs. Rock County's led in scoring by Ava Kilgora, who has 16 goals and 8 assists. Stoughton will take on Badger Lightning, the Icebergs. Stoughton, came as the 6th seed. Badger Lightning came in as the 3rd seed, kind of quietly. I think Badger Lightning slid in there. They finished pretty well. They went 5-1 in their last 6 games. Only gave up 9 goals in those 6 games, and played pretty well down the stretch. So those two will meet. The Lightning has 2 regular season wins over the Icebergs. They beat them 1-0 and 3-1. You can see the low scoring theme here. Annika Mueller for Stoughton, I think it has to be, if she's not the best goalie in the state, she's got to be right there. She faced 883 shots this year and still maintained a .942 save percentage, which will end up being the second best in the state, right behind Bramstead. So quite an accomplishment to see that many shots over the course of the year and maintain a save percentage that's high, that high. Stoughton finished the year at 5-13-3, and the Badger Lightning at 9-12. And Badger Lightning, just not a lot of stars, just a very balanced team. Saw them play earlier in the year, and I think that will be I think like all of the games in this sectional, this is probably going to be a pretty low scoring game when it's all said and done. The last matchup is number 2 seeded Cap City against Viroqua. Cap City, of course, was the team that represented Section 4 at state last year, and Cap City had a really, I guess you could just be very honest, say a pretty bad regular season a year ago, and then went on a terrific run, winning all 3 of their playoff games, all by 1 goal, 2 of them in overtime, and found their way to the state tournament. So they had a pretty good streak down the stretch. This year, a little bit different than last year, where they didn't play well down the stretch. They finished the season at 12-12, and they are led by their goaltender, Sophie Martinelli, and she had finished the season with a 1.95 goals against and a .936 save percentage. So those are all save percentages that are pretty impressive. And so the Cap City will be one of those teams, again, that's difficult to score on. Olivia Dull is their leading scorer, when she had a nice 20-goal season to lead them. Viroqua, of course, the star of the show for them, as she proved last week. And since she's come back from her knee injury, Sammy Bramstead has been just terrific for Viroqua. And that's a team that typically will skate maybe 10 players in a game, sometimes 9, depending if everyone's healthy. Viroqua finished the season at 3-19-1, and Sammy finished the regular season with a 2.54 goals against average and a state leading .948 save percentage. So this is, again, I think a pretty pretty balanced sectional. Beaver Dam looks like the favorite, but they're a pretty young team. They haven't been in this spot before, being the favorite, being at the top. So, how will they handle that? Cap City has some experience there. And then Badger Lightning, I think, quietly had a good finish to the season. But really, the goalies in this section can steal any game, I think, at any time. So this, again, should be a really interesting one to watch.
Well, you talk about Beaver Dam, turning things around or turning according. Yeah, it didn't really look that way. I mean, they started out the season 1-4, but they've only lost 2 games since then.
Yeah, their record since the first of the year is 12-2, so they've played really well. Got hot, had a couple nice winning streaks, I believe, in there, and they're just a pretty balanced team. They have good goaltending, and like I said, the Rhodes girl is very impressive. 27 goals as a freshman, so that's a pretty good accomplishment.
All right, moving on to our final sectional. Division One, Section 4. Division One, Section 4, in terms of strength, is just about the same as Section 2 was. Average computer ranking of 28. Brookfield is the number 1 seed, second in the computer ranking, second in the top 6. They will face the winner of Oregon and Kenosha. They've already beaten Kenosha 7-1. Oregon and Kenosha, the 8 and 9 seeds, have not played each other yet this year. But their games against common opponents, Muskego and McFarland, would lead me to believe this is going to be a pretty close game. They both lost to Muskego, Oregon 7-2, Kenosha 7-3. They both lost to McFarland, Oregon 3-1, Kenosha 4-1. I do have to apologize. Earlier this year, I said that Oregon was moved up to Division One on competitive balance. That is not correct. They were moved up to Division One on enrollment. They were one of the schools right on the bubble. So if teams move up and down, they're one of the teams that will move up and down to compensate. Moving to the next, the KMMO region. KMMO, the 4th seed, takes on 13th seed Whitefish Bay Nicolet Shorewood. They are 13th and 48th in the computer rankings, and on the top half of that regional, Muskego, 5th seed, takes on 12th seeded Janesville. They are 15th and 42nd in the computer rankings. Muskego has already beaten Janesville 9-1, and KMMO has beaten Whitefish Bay Nicolet Shorewood 9-1. So it's probably going to be a matchup of 4 versus 5. And in that case, KMMO has beaten Muskego twice, 5-1 and 6-4 already this season. Moving down to the University School Regional, they are the 3 seed. They will face 14th seeded Milton. They are 12th and 52nd in the computer rankings. And 6th seed Marquette will take on 11th seed Beloit Memorial. They are 21st and 44th in the computer rankings. Looking at some common opponents, I don't think that Milton and Beloit are going to put up too big a fight against University School and Marquette. And then University School and Marquette played earlier this season, with University School beating Marquette 3-1. And then on the very bottom of the bracket, 2 seed Arrowhead, who are 8th in the computer rankings, will face the winner of the Waukesha Wings or the Monroe Cheesemakers, who have the best mascot in the state as the Cheesemakers. Arrowhead has beaten Waukesha 6-2 and Monroe 10-5. So, I don't know that Arrowhead cares whether the 7 or the 10 comes out of that one to face them. Jack McKenna is just looking to get that 100th point because he's at 98 right now. So the regionals in this one, I think out of all of the boys' regions, they call it chalk when everything goes by the seeds. I think other than the 8-9 game, I think Division One Section 4 is the most likely to just follow the seeds.
I would agree with that. The way it stacks out like that, yeah, I'd buy that. I did get a chance to see a couple of the teams this year, and I seen Janesville, and they, I know what they've got. And
I've seen University School twice, and something broke in University School when they lost to Spash 10-1. I don't know what happened after that, but they have not played well since then, which leads to their number 3 seed, which I would have not have expected before that game against Spash. Since that game against Spash, they beat Mosinee, a Division II school, 5-4. They beat Northland Pines, who is a middling Division II school, 3-1. They lost to Arrowhead 9-4. They beat Chippewa Falls 4-3 in overtime. Chippewa Falls has not had a very good season. They lost to Verona 3-2. They lost to Brookfield 7-3. They lost to Madison Edgewood 8-1, and then they lost to Superior, who's a 7 seed, I believe, 3-2. So since that 10-1 loss to Spash on January 18th, University School is 3-5. And the 3 wins they have were not comparable to some of the wins they had earlier in the season, like their 5-3 win over Notre Dame. That's a big time win for them. Their 7-4 win over New Richmond, that's a big time win. But since that loss to Spash 10-1 on January 18th, University School has not been very good.
They
Well, so-
lost their will to live.
I don't know
or
about
the
that,
will
but
to win, one or the
their
other.
their will to win seems to have disappeared because yeah, they're not putting it together the way they were before. I mean, before they beat Wausau West. They beat their first game against Stevens Point was 5-2, and when you're playing against Spash, 5-2 loss is respectable. Then they beat New Richmond, they beat Notre Dame, they beat Nino Hortonville Menasha, and then 4-2 loss to Springs. No shame in that. 5-0 win over Waukesha, and then that 10-1 loss was Point, and then it's been all downhill since that 10-1 loss to Point.
Maybe a confidence factor with them.
You don't know. High school kids, it can be tough. And whereas, Arrowhead, on the other hand, hasn't lost since December 21st.
It's Roger Aylesworth's team.
So
Always
they're
seems to find a way.
they're moving. They're moving in the right direction. USM is moving in the wrong direction, and Brookfield's been moving in the right direction at the top of the bracket all year. Obviously, they're ranked number 2 in the state. They had a little blip in the middle, in the middle of January there with 2 games against a prep school in Illinois and then Spash. But other than that, they've been rolling.
Yeah, they've had a very, very solid season, and we kind of knew that coming into this year that they were going to be pretty good. I still would bet you that Arrowhead really wants another crack at them.
They
I think
may
so.
get it.
They might.
The way this bracket shakes out, I think this one's got a good shot at being 1 and 2.
I would agree with that.
I didn't Brookfield play the state championship game last year.
Yep.
Yep.
Lost by a
Didn't they
goal.
return? Didn't they return most of their players?
Yep. So yeah, Brookfield they're poised for another long run.
Yeah.
I don't know if too many teams in this state are gonna be in their way, but we know that one team that gives them trouble, and that's Spash.
Well,
Will they
Spash
get-
is terrifying.
Well, will they get another chance at Spash? We'll see, but boy, I mean, Brookfield has been this good all year long.
Yeah, I mean they've only got the 1 loss in state to Spash. The other 2 losses were to a prep school from Illinois, and when you're playing against a prep school, you kind of don't know what you're going to get in that case. So,
You ain't a kid. Okay.
all right, that's it for regional sectional previews. Final thoughts, as Burglar likes to tell everybody every year, don't be a knucklehead. For a lot of players, their last game is coming this week. Go out with your head held high, not sitting in the box disqualified.
Right. Yeah. Most of the high school players, high school hockey is the last competitive hockey they're going to play. Not many are going to go on to play juniors. Not many of them are going to go on to play college. So this is it. And most of you are going to lose your last game. So know it's coming. Don't lose your head when you realize your career's done and, well, I got nothing to lose at this point. I've always hated that guy over there. I think I'll just go take his head off because, what are they going to do? There is no next game to suspend me from. I don't really give a shit. I mean, give a darn if the coach suspends you. There's nothing to suspend me for. So, I might as well go take that kid's head off. I've always hated him. But, your parents are going to see you do that. Your friends' parents are going to see you do that. And it's going to be a black mark hanging over you, not necessarily for the rest of your life, but for a long time. People will forget everything you've done except until, cross-checking that guy from the back into the boards. They'll remember that. Um, at the end of the game where you were a poor sport and you lost your cool. They will remember that. I mean, there are some unfortunately there are some memorable moments that we have where teams lost their cool at the state tournament. We're not going to mention them by name right now, but I mean, people who go to the state tournament every year, they know what I was talking about from a couple years ago. You don't do something that you're going to regret later just because it feels good in the moment. Because it will feel bad. It'll feel much worse later than whatever it feels good in the moment.
Don't do something you'll regret later just because it feels good in the moment is like should be like something a teenage boy says every morning he gets out of bed.
Burglar, as you've said before when you wrote an article, I believe you said, don't be that guy.
Yeah. Don't be that guy.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys, anything else?
No, I mean, other than, for 22 players, everybody else's season is going to end in a loss. 22 players at each division, I think, is how much they allow you.
Yeah, well, it's a given every year. All right, guys. We'll keep an eye on stuff tomorrow night and also Thursday and Friday. We'll
Oh yeah,
update things as fast as we
speaking of
can.
tomorrow, we know of one change already. I think the Chippewa Falls, Eau Claire North, maybe. Chippewa Falls doesn't have they cancel school tomorrow, so they can't play tomorrow night. So apparently that game's been moved to Wednesday.
Oh,
And I
okay.
only know that because whoever enters the stats for Eau Claire North um, doesn't follow directions and entered a game for Wednesday. So I deleted that and just moved the actual playoff game to Wednesday. So I hope
Okay.
that was right. But if anybody else, if there are any other games that have to be moved because of school cancellations, let us know so we can update the schedule on our site as soon as possible.
Yeah, there is possibilities because of the weather this week with it being so bitterly cold that there may be some changes.
Yeah, some schools have a strict policy that if school is closed, all extracurricular activities are closed. DC Everest, where Bill's kids go to school, their policy is a little more forward thinking. If school is closed because it's too cold in the morning, for kids to wait for the bus or, for kids to have to walk to school, if it's too cold for them, that doesn't necessarily mean it's too cold for, after school activities. So depending on what your school is, let us know if things have to be moved from tomorrow, because a lot of the Division I stuff starts tomorrow night or is supposed to start tomorrow night.
Okay. All right, that it, guys? Sounds like it. So
Yes, sir.
for Junior, Burglar, and Dan Bauer, we got to get a nickname for Dan and figure one out. We got the whole state tournament to do it. I'm Mike Hammett. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, no, he's Dr. Bauer.
Dr. Bauer.
If only I had that salary.
I mean, we could also just call him Coach.
Pretty familiar with that.
Okay. We'll go with that one. It seems like a pretty safe one. All right, guys, we'll keep things updated here on the site. And if anybody has their ear to the ground and hears something about a change or something, feel free to let us know. So for Dan and the Bergs, I'm Mike Hammett. We'll keep you posted right here on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.